Hi, my name is Laura Sanchez, and today we are going to be making chocolate chip cookies. You will need 2 mixing bowls for this recipe. The first mixing bowl you are going to need can be smaller, and the second mixing bowl can be larger. The first things we are going to be putting together are the dry ingredients. And the first ingredient is flour. We are going to need 2 1/4 cups of flour. I have a 3/4 cup measure, and I'm going to use 3 of these because 3 times 3/4 of a cup is 2 1/4. So let's get started. As always, make sure you have your butter knife, and you are going to be just making sure that there's no air pockets, leveling it out. There's your 3/4 cup. And this is unbleached all-purpose flour. Apparently I have a teaspoon measure in here. Okay, that's cute. So this is going to be a total of 1 1/2 cups. And another 3/4 cup measure makes it 2 1/4 cups. Now the next ingredient is going to be baking soda. You are just going to need 1 teaspoon of baking soda, and I always like to sift my baking soda. Okay, so I have my 1 teaspoon measure, and I do want to make sure that when I'm getting my baking soda that I have the baking soda leveled off. I don't want it to have too much baking soda, and I don't want it to have not enough. So here's my teaspoonful that I just used the cardboard top of the box to kind of level it off. And like I said, I sift it. You don't have to, but I just think it's better to sift my baking soda. Okay, so the next ingredient is salt, and you're going to need 1 teaspoon of salt as well. And you just want to make sure that you have full teaspoon, not overflowing, of course, because you don't want salty chocolate chip cookies. You just want them to turn out perfect. Oh, and you don't need to sift it. I just happen to have the sifter here, so whatever. Okay, so that's it for your dry ingredients, and you get to set this aside. I'm gonna mix it first, but then you can set it aside, and then we're going to work on the other ingredients. Now we're going to use a larger bowl, and that larger bowl we're gonna start with putting 1 cup of butter, softened. So we do have to put it in the microwave. I will say that the recipe that I use calls for butter, but I've always used margarine. You can use butter. I've also used half margarine and half butter. It's up to you. I just do prefer margarine in these cookies. So I'm gonna get 2 sticks of margarine, and we're going to put it in the bowl, and then we're gonna put it in the microwave just to soften it a little bit. So 1 stick is equal to 1/2 cup. So that's 1/2 of a cup. And another 1/2 of the cup equals 1, and I'm gonna put it in the microwave for probably 30 seconds. Maybe it doesn't even need 30 seconds, but we'll see. So I went ahead and did the full 30 seconds. You don't need 30 seconds, you could probably do less. Of course, it does depend on your microwave, but mine is a little melty, which is fine. Your cookies will turn out great, but it doesn't need to be melty, it just needs to be soft. So the next thing that I need is sugar, and you're going to need regular granulated sugar as well as brown sugar. Doesn't matter what kind of brown sugar you use. You could use light brown sugar, you could use dark brown sugar. Doesn't matter. I actually buy both, just whatever I feel like buying whenever I'm at the grocery store. That's what I use, and it does not make a difference. So it's 3/4 cup of sugar and 3/4 cup of brown sugar. And as always, I level off the sugar just to make sure it's exactly right. So there's your 3/4 cup. Now, brown sugar is different than other ingredients. If you're not familiar with baking, I just want to make sure you know. You can't just take the You can't just take the brown sugar and do what you do with the regular granulated sugar or with the flour. You actually have to, every time a recipe calls for brown sugar, you have to pack it into the measuring cup. So here's my 3/4 cup measure, and I'm literally taking a spoon and packing it down. This will give me a full 3/4 cup measure. If you don't do this, you're not getting enough sugar and your cookies will not turn out properly. Or whatever you're baking, you have to pack it in there. Now, every video that I post has the recipe down below. Feel free to copy that onto a recipe card if you're into that. Whatever you want, it's fine. But those are the recipes that I'm doing. So they are available for you to. Okay, so here's my 3/4 cup of packed brown sugar, firmly packed brown sugar. And I'm just putting it into my bowl. And I'm going to cream this together. I'm going to cream this together with pure vanilla extract with 1 teaspoon of this. And I'm just gonna pour a teaspoon. And creaming is just literally making sure they're all smushed together, all the different flavors, different ingredients. Okay, so the next ingredient is we need 2 eggs. And so we're gonna put 2 eggs in here. After that, we're gonna put the dry mixture into here. From there, we're gonna put our chocolate chips. And then you can use walnuts if you want, or you don't have to use any nuts at all. It doesn't matter. I sometimes make it with nuts, sometimes I don't. Today I will, just for the fun of it. I have my 2 eggs and I am going to crack them into a separate teacup because I don't wanna get eggshells into my batter. So here's the first one. I will say I am not really good at cracking eggs for some reason. I always have to check it. And honestly, I've never had a problem with eggshells in my baked goods, but I don't know. I'm just not the greatest egg cracker. So I'm just gonna beat the eggs one at a time since I'm gonna crack them one at a time. Feel free to put both together and just put them right into the batter, whatever you want, but I don't do that because I don't trust myself. So here's egg number 1, and here's egg number 2. Okay, now we're just gonna mix this batter together. And we're gonna take our other bowl, which is full of dry ingredients, and we're going to put it into this batter. And we're gonna put it gradually. You don't wanna dump it all in at one time. You wanna just put it slowly and mix it together. Since these are chocolate chip cookies, the next step is chocolate chips. And I put, well, the recipe calls for 2 cups of chocolate chips, but I usually just like to throw in a couple extra handfuls or something just so they have extra chocolate chips because it's so good. When you're at the grocery store or you order online, however it is that you get your groceries, just get semi-sweet chocolate chips. That's what you need for baking, and that's what you need for chocolate chip cookies. So I have my container here, but I just wanted to make sure that you knew which kind of chocolate chips to get, and that's semi-sweet. I happen to have a 2-cup measure, so I'm just gonna use it, but I think this bag actually is approximately 2 cups. Let's see. Yeah, it's not quite 2 cups, which is totally fine because I'll just use those. And that's definitely more than 2 cups, which is what I like. Before I mix the chocolate chips into the batter, I'm also going to get the nuts. And like I said, you don't have to use them, but I'm going to this time. So I already did 1/2 cup of the walnuts, and I'm just gonna do another 1/2 cup into here, and it'll be a total of 1 cup of walnuts. I have no idea what happened to my lid. I know I have one, but I don't know where it is. So I'm just gonna use my hand to cover the top of it. And that's only in the beginning because they can pop out as the blades are rotating. Now you can watch as it gets brown. Okay, so my nut grinder also actually has like a cup measure on here, so it shows me exactly when it's 1 cup, which is nice. But typically I think these nut grinders, like the top of it is already a 1/2 cup measure, so I don't usually even measure them because it's already measured. I don't know if they're all the same, but all the ones that I've ever used are like that. Okay, so we're just gonna mix this together and your batter is ready for your chocolate chip cookies. The next thing you'll just need to get are your baking sheets, and you do not have to grease them, but you do need to make sure before you start all of this, make sure to preheat your oven to 375 degrees. And there you have it. There's your batter for your cookies. So typically when I'm making my chocolate chip cookies, I have at least 2 baking sheets. And the reason is because you have one in the oven and it's baking, and you can already be working on a separate pan, putting cookies onto that sheet, so that when that first one comes out of the oven, you can put your second one in there and just keep doing it until all your cookies are done. For me, it's so much easier. Just a helpful hint, I guess. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know what these are called, but I think it's a cookie scooper. But they're really helpful. You could obviously use just like a regular spoon, but these just help get the cookie batter off and onto the pan quicker. Yeah, and they're always typically about the same size too, so that's really nice. When you put it on your cookie sheet, you are gonna wanna make sure that it's like about 1.5 inches, at least 2 inches apart from each other, because they will spread out. And you don't really want square cookies because they could just merge into each other. You want them to be separate enough on your baking sheet that they're not gonna merge together, and they'll be nice and round. So after they have come out of the oven, about a minute or so after, you need to take them off of the pan. You don't want them to get stuck to the pan. So pretty quickly you're gonna wanna take them off, and you can set them on a cooling rack, or you can set them on a plate, you can set them somewhere else so they can cool. You don't want them to stay on the pan. And you typically want to use a metal spatula to take them off of the cookie sheet. Comes off much better that way, and they don't squish. There you have it, your chocolate chip cookies. Thank you for watching this video. Please like if you liked this video. Please comment if you have any suggestions that you want me to try or to make. And if you haven't already, consider subscribing to my channel. Happy baking! Babe!